Hi friends, it's Cherie here. Welcome back to another surgical tech video. This week we're talking about the pros and cons of working at a private practice or like a surgery center. For those of you who don't know, I'm Cherie and I'm a surgical tech that's working in private practice right now, and I've been doing that for about 2 years now. So I'm going to give you guys my pros and cons so far that I have. And without further ado, we're going to get right into this video. But first, don't forget to follow me on TikTok at Life with Cherie. It's .csd, and on Instagram at Life with Cherie. And we're going to get right into this video. So number one pro on the list is definitely the hours. This is something that grabs everyone's attention because you don't have to take call, you don't have to work weekends, you do not have to work holidays, which is a plus for a lot of people. The hours are pretty standard, like 7 to 3, sometimes 7 to 5, depending on the caseload of the day. But sometimes you're out of there 3 o'clock on the dot, ready to go. A lot of surgeons, when they're done at 3, they're done at 3 and you're out of there. The latest at like 3:30, you know what I mean? And so a lot of people love that. And I like that a lot. I like being able to get out of work, have my evenings, and just be done. One thing I hated working at the hospital was how late, like I worked 4/10s at the hospital, so we do 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. That was just too many hours at the hospital for too long. You miss dinner, and I like having dinner at home, so I really enjoy working like 7 to 3 on the dot, or sometimes it's 7 to 5, not gonna lie, because sometimes cases can run over, but that's not every single day, so that's definitely a plus. Number 2 is the predictable caseload. Sorry, I'm looking off because my notes are here. So predictable caseload, you know what's going on all the time. Like there's no surprises, there's no pop-up, oh, add-on, no. If it's not scheduled like weeks in advance, it's not going to be on the schedule. So the schedule is typically made weeks in advance, so you know what's happening, you know exactly what you're doing. Everyone has access to the schedule, and so you know what's going on weeks in advance. You know how many cases you're going to be doing for the day, so you'll know if there's a day that is going to run over because the schedule's already made, which is definitely a plus for a lot of people. Number 3 is better work-life balance. Again, not working weekends, not taking call. When I took call at the hospital, my work-life balance was not great. And I took a lot of call at the hospital, and I did not like that. I also didn't sleep well because of the fact that I was always getting woken up in the middle of the night to take calls. So that's definitely something that I don't miss, is taking call. So definitely better work-life balance. You are able to come home early. You're not working weekends, you don't have to take call. The holidays you don't have to worry about because you're going to be off on the holidays, so you definitely have better work-life balance than working at the hospital. Especially if you have kids, it might be easier for a lot of people. Number 4, better work-life balance is going to lead to less stress. Like, I'm not stressed out at all because I know what I'm doing. One of the biggest things with working at the hospitals was that I worked the shift that gave lunches, and as much as I loved it and I chose it because it would like push me out of my comfort zone and it made me learn a lot, it was definitely the shift that I just did not like because I never knew what I was walking into. I could go to ortho room 1 second, then the next 30 minutes I'm in a vascular room. I was all over the place all the time. So it's been nice having that predictability in the last couple of years. And that has led me to be less stressed because I just know what's going on. I know what my schedule is, and I just don't have to worry about anything. And those are my pros. Let's go into the con. I'm making this a very quick video. My last pros and cons video was very drawn out. A lot of people said I was talking way too much, so I learned my lesson. So we're gonna go into the cons. The cons, number 1, small staff. When you work at these small private practices or surgery centers, the staff is much smaller, so that means all hands on deck. You're doing things that you didn't think were going to be your job, but because you're working at such a small practice, so small staff equals more responsibility. So as a surgical tech at a private practice, I am doing the instrumentation. So I do sterilizing, I sterilize the instruments, I have to turn over the room, I have to do stocking, I have to do a bunch of stuff that's not really what I want to do, but you got to do what you got to do. Okay. Number 2 is the limited case variety. So if you're someone that gets bored pretty easily, specializing and going off into a surgery center or private practice is probably not going to be the best thing for you. And you're like, I want to do something else, I don't want to do the same thing all the time, then ASC is not going to be for you. There's not that much like different specialties in these practices. It's usually like 1 or 2, or sometimes it's 1. In my case, it's just 1. We just do plastics. But at some surgery centers, you might do a little bit of ENT, they might have a little bit of GYN, they might have a little bit of ortho, but you just got to see what's out there and see where you're applying to, because the limited caseload might not be something that people want, especially if you are fresh out of school. I would not recommend you going off into private practice or ASC, because again, limited case variety, which means you're not learning that much, you're not getting exposure to a lot of different specialties. And if you don't want to do that and then you want to go off to a hospital or level 1 or something, it's going to make your life very much harder, because it's going to feel like you're starting from scratch because you don't know a lot of stuff. Number 3 is the fewer career advancement. It's half and half. There might be room for career advancement if, you know, someone leaves and you could take over what someone else is doing. But typically in these spaces, you find that people who are employed there have been there forever. Like, they just stick around, they like it, they like the pros that they get from it, and they stick around. And so there's not a lot of room to move up and do something else. Versus at the hospital, there's other things, like you could be a coordinator, you could be team lead, and all that stuff. So there's options at the hospital for you to move up. Like, one of my best friends just became a coordinator for a specialty, so you could do that, but you can't really do that at a smaller practice, because someone already probably has a job that covers all that stuff, right? So like the nurse manager at these small practices is covering all the coordinating and all that stuff. So there's just not that much room for you to grow. You could go on to be in like a first assist, which is something that I'm doing, and potentially still work for them, but you got to be careful there, because if you don't see that they already have like a first assist, then are they going to hire you when you're done being a first assist? You got to think about that. So make sure you just do your research and know exactly what it is that you want. Number 4, and this is a very important con to really think about when you go off to work for privately owned practices that are owned by the surgeons that you work for, is your job security. If the practice is not doing well, that could greatly affect your hours, your pay. So if you are working somewhere where they're not doing well at the moment, they might cut your hours, they might let you go because they're struggling. Like, if they're not making a lot of money, then they can't retain staff. So that's something to really think about. That's a really big one. Like, your job security is going to be dependent on how well the practice does, and if they're not doing well, it could greatly affect your money, period. It could. So definitely think about that. Another pro, which is kind of also a con depending on where you are, so we're going to talk about, is pay. Some people say ASCs, private centers, don't pay as well as the hospital. I personally, in my personal experience, they paid me more at the private practice, but there's more ways to make more money at the hospital. So at the hospital, you can take call, there's different shift differential, there is, you know, overnights and all that stuff. So you can make more money at a hospital if you are grinding through it. But if you're working in private practice, you're probably just getting your base pay and that's it, because there's no call, there's no weekends, there's no overnight shift or anything like that. So it's kind of half and half. So I'm putting it at pros and putting it at cons. It just depends on where you are and what's going on, because you could be making more at a hospital because of all the shift varieties and all the ways you could be making more money at the hospital, but then you could also find a place at a private practice that just pays well base and you're getting good hours there. So it really just is kind of like half and half when it comes down to the pay. And again, pay is just such a tricky topic because it really just depends on where you're located, what state you're in, like how much experience you have. It really just depends on so many different factors. So I never want to put the pros as pay more and just say that overall, which may not be the case for certain places and may not be the case for a lot of people. So it's like half and half for me. But that is it for this video. If you guys have any questions, feel free to message me on Instagram or here on YouTube. Comment down below, let me know what questions you guys might have. So really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and again, comment down below, chat with me in the comments, follow me on my socials, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.